Prices for Nintendo games are continuing to skyrocket. Sorry, you go first.
No, that's okay. You go. Why don't we both just do this together? Prices for Nintendo games are continuing to skyrocket.
It's getting harder and harder to find game experiences on the NES that have gone underappreciated for a number of years for a variety of reasons.
From bad cover art to questionable titles, these games seem to never really remain high on gamers' priority lists.
But the nice thing about that is that the prices on these games have remained nice and low for years.
That's why Mike and I have teamed up to give you a look at 10 underappreciated NES games under $10. Or around $10. 5 on my channel and 5 on Miketendo's channel. If you're familiar with Japanese Konami shooters, you may know of the Twinbee series. Stinger is one of the rare Twinbee games that was released in North America. It's a pretty fun shooter that may not have the best graphics or sound, but the gameplay really makes the game. Sure, it's no Gradius, but it's worth playing. You fly your Twinbee fighter, gathering power-ups by bombing the ground enemies and juggling bells that you shoot out of clouds. There are both horizontal and vertical scrolling levels, and nice big bosses to fight. The game's a little absurd, and that makes it charming. If you're interested, Stinger can usually be purchased for less than $10 for a loose cartridge. It's one that I don't come across very often when looking for games, but when I saw it, knowing what I knew about the Twinbee series, I decided to pick it up. Definitely worth a look. If you like The Legend of Zelda and Crystallis, how about trying a game based off a great 80s adventure movie? Usually that means a game that doesn't come near to the quality of the aforementioned games. But in this case, Capcom knocked it out of the park with Willow. This game is really good, and probably the objectively best game on this list. It's a top-down sword-swinging adventure where the main character, Willow, has to save the realm from the evil queen Bavmorda. You get upgrades in swords, shields, and magic throughout the game, and it does a great job of turning the movie plot into one that works for a video game. Again, if you want to pick up a physical copy, it's about $10, so don't miss out if collecting is your thing. Bimmy and Jimmy are back in this volleyball game. Who knew they liked wearing banana hammocks and knocking balls around? Super Strike V-Ball comes from Technos, the same people who did Double Dragon. At first, it's kind of hard to get the hang of, but once you do, it's really fun. The big upside to this game is that you can play with 4 players, 2 people to a team. The graphics and music are pretty good too. Even if you aren't a sports game or a volleyball fan, I'm sure you'll get some kind of enjoyment out of Super Strike V-Ball. Just a solid and simple game that's a lot of fun once you figure out the gameplay. If you're interested, this game is really easy to find and usually will only set you back about $5. There's even a multi-cart that includes Super Strike V-Ball and Nintendo World Cup Soccer, which is also a pretty solid game. That's fairly cheap as well at about $10. Another shooter? Well, I'm gonna be honest, there are 3 on this list, and I'll let you wait for the last one. Air Fortress is a game made by HAL Laboratories. It's a bit slow-paced and simplistic, but it's a neat concept. You fly your little air bike into an air fortress, enter the air fortress, blow up the core, then escape to take on the next area. When inside the fortress, shooting your weapon or using your jetpack takes energy, and if you take a hit, that hurts your energy meter as well. It's a fun little game, even if it's not overly complicated. It's easy to jump into and play for a bit, which is nice when you have a busier schedule. Air Fortress runs for about $6 for a loose copy. Give it a chance if you're interested. Honestly, this may be my favorite game on the list. Willow is an awesome epic adventure and all, but lately I'm all about shmups. Gyrus is an arcade-style shooter. Instead of moving along the bottom of a fixed screen like in Space Invaders or Galaga, or moving along a horizontal or vertical plane like in Gradius, your ship moves around a center axis. Enemies pour in from all sides, and if you miss them, they'll appear as tiny dots in the distance, eventually making runs at your craft. It's a really neat spin on the genre and makes for some fun, fresh, and interesting gameplay. The game also includes bosses, different enemy types, and a few power-ups. The game isn't super complicated outside of its gyroscope gimmick, but it doesn't need to be. It controls surprisingly solid and is just really good. Mix in some excellent music and some great 8-bit graphics and you have yourself a very solid game. If you want to pick up a physical copy of Gyrus, Expect to pay around $10.